This is a follow-up video to my Husqvarna Viking Designer SE flashing light of death video. I'm going to go more in depth on this video on how to do the repair and what parts you need to do the repair. Actually, I'm going to be selling some of these on eBay just to see if there's anybody who actually wants a kit. So I'm going to have a couple of kits on eBay for all the capacitors that you need to do this job. And I'm going to walk you through how to complete the repair on, this is your motherboard from the sewing machine, and then over here is the power supply. If you have a bad capacitor, you want to replace all of them, so you don't know which one is actually bad. And we're going to do a replacement of all the capacitors that are on these two boards just to make sure that we're not going to have this problem again after we've already torn it apart, and we're going to fix it. So here we go. You want to have a way to pull the old solder out. So this is solder remover, solder sucker. There's different names for these, but it's got a spring in there. It heats up the front really hot. This one's actually on right now. And then when you heat up the solder and it turns to a liquid, then you push the button and it will suck the solder out. Hence the name solder sucker. So that's one tool that I have, and then the other one's going to be the soldering iron that you have, and I'm going to be using both of those tools. Those are the specialty tools, if you will, for this job. Things that are commonplace if you work on any electronics. And then we have the two boards here. We're going to go through and we're going to look at these boards. One thing you want to look for is which side is positive, which side is negative, because these capacitors are polar. They have a positive and a negative side. It will let you know if you did it wrong by when you turn it on, it's going to blow up. So the capacitors do not like to be put in backwards. So it's one thing you have to be very careful and make sure that you follow. If you look at one of these new capacitors, you have two wires coming out of it. One's positive, one's negative. So two wires, one positive, one negative. If you look right here, you have a line going down it and it's got a negative symbol in it. So that's your negative side. So this side right here, the shorter one, is your negative. The longer one is your positive. There's no marking on that side for this capacitor. So what I like to do is when I have all the parts on the board is populated, I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to mark the side that's negative so that I know that that side has a line on it, and that's where my negative side is going to go. Some of these capacitors are axial, so they have one wire coming in one side and one coming out the other side. I have fixed these with regular capacitors, regular being the kind that stick off the board like this, so both the wires are on the same side down here at the bottom. That's what I call a regular capacitor. But these capacitors here, it is possible to use a regular capacitor for these, but if you get the kit that I have, I do have the axial capacitors in here. There's replacements in the kit. I did find some of these. On the power supply here, it's actually marked very well on the circuit board, but I went ahead and put marks with my Sharpie as well. But you can see negative signs actually printed on the circuit board, so that's very helpful that the company did that, the manufacturer. Now it's time to desolder the old components. If you're doing this at home, you need to write down and know which capacity goes where. The next thing you want to do is kind of make a drawing so that you don't get lost. we have a map. We know where positive is. We know where all of our capacitors are. Now we can desolder all the capacitors and get them, all the new ones, back in the same spots where they're supposed to be. Here we go. We have 12 old capacitors. We have 2 boards with the new capacitors installed. This board, these boards are ready to go, and so some more. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps some people, and remember, I'm gonna have some of these packets up on eBay to help some people. Also, if you didn't notice while I was doing this, the big capacitor has a different form factor. Let me hold this where you can see it. The big capacitor has a different form factor. So the new one is a little bit longer, and what I had to do was angle it so that it'll fit in the case, because the case is gonna touch the top of this. If it goes straight up, you're going to hit that case and you won't be able to put the case back on. So just keep in mind if you're using my capacitors, and I'll put a note, if you're going to buy these, there's going to be a note in there telling you to make sure you do that. Thanks for watching.